Good day. My name is Monica Madwekwe, and with me today is a very important guest. Allow me to introduce you to the very intelligent Honourable Mamadi Gobeh Kamara, who is the Deputy Minister of Information and Communication in Sierra Leone. Madam, it is my pleasure having you here today.
Thank you very much, Monica. I'm really excited to be with you today. And hello to everyone.
Yeah. So let's start with an icebreaker. Can you tell us something about yourself that most people are not aware of?
So on a personal front, I love to cook.
Okay.
And that's something most people do not know about me. Um, that's on a personal front. On a professional front, I am a great team player. Well, I'm sure people know that, those that I've worked with. And the other thing I think people might not know about me is that I can be a little impatient. Impatient in the sense that if I'm part of a team and a team member is sort of trying to slow us down, especially if we have a deadline, I really the impatient side of me kicks in. So I would say yes, I'm impatient. It's a good and a bad thing. It's a good and not so good thing, but yes, that's something about me that's I'm sure people do not know about me.
Yeah, I think most leaders have that. They want to see results happening as soon as possible,
Yeah.
rather than having the process drag on.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think it's positive. So let's go now into the interview proper.
Mhm.
Last year, the president launched the medium-term national development plan of Sierra Leone as the
Right.
blueprint, as the blueprint to get Sierra Leone to becoming a middle-income country by 2035. Could you tell us a little bit more why the theme of the plan is called Education for Development?
Thank you very much, Monica. I would like to sort of take our listeners back on where we're coming from as a nation, Sierra Leone. Times there were when this country was referred to as the Athens of Africa. We had people from various parts of the sub-region, coming here to pursue education. Or came here for education opportunities, be it in secondary or university level. We had a lot of people came here and benefited from what we're offering as far as our educational system was concerned. And over the years, that has quickly gone down. Education is not where we want it to be. And of course, all of us know what education can do for a nation when it comes to poverty alleviation, boosting economic growth, and a host of other things that education can really help to address. So when His Excellency was candidates, vying for the presidency, part of his manifesto promise was to make sure that we have a free quality education place. I mean, focus more on education because, like I mentioned, education is the leveler. I
Yes.
mean, a nation that is educated, an educated nation, of course, the benefits are just unending. So he thought that that would be a good start. We need to regain our past glory, and the only way that we can be able to do that is when we visit, the problem that our educational system, is facing at the moment. So the theme, like you mentioned, of the midterm national development plan is education for development. I mean, and that theme is derived, like I mentioned, from the vision of His Excellency the President. So that is why we are focusing on education because um, part of the manifesto promises we have like key indicators that we have outlined as the government, to use, to lift this country from poverty. And
Mm.
education happens to be number one. We have health, we have agriculture, we have a lot of them. Education is really like on top of the list of priorities that we have as a government.
I absolutely agree with that because, I mean, look at South Korea, for example. They were able to change their story through education. The government invested heavily in education in the 1960s and 70s. And look at where South Korea is now. So Sierra Leone is definitely on the right path. So kudos to the government for that, for
Thank
prioritizing
you.
education. Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, I've been reading a lot about what's happening in Sierra Leone, and I know that your ministry is very much actively involved in promoting this plan. Could you tell us a little bit about the role of your ministry in achieving the objectives of this plan?
Okay, thank you very much. Um, our ministry, Ministry of Information and Communications, I would like to say is the station for government. So we sort of, you know, communicate what we are doing as a government so that people get to know what we are doing, through various engagements, various forums, be it radio, or what have you. So we do a lot of that as a ministry, and of course, we also are responsible for everything ICT, the what we're doing digital, in the fourth industrial revolution. So we don't want to be left behind, as a leader. So our ministry more or less is focused on that aspect as well, because His Excellency the President is also a very digital person. He wants to that leapfrog development, using digital means. So our ministry really is leading on that front, in addition to the Directorate of Science, Technology and Innovation. As a whole directorate set up, to be able to handle all things technology, science, and innovation. So in addition to that, like I mentioned, our ministry we sort of take messages from government to the people and also from the people to government. So we have that two-pronged government to the people. So that's been happening on the broader scheme of things as far as our ministry is concerned. But as it relates to the medium-term national development plan, what we have been doing over the period is to popularize the ownership of the plan, because this is a plan that what we did as a government, in time past, have people come in, governments come in, they imagine what people want, and they go to this community, to this district, and implement some of these plans without actually getting the people involved. So to a point, people do not really own the plan because their opinions were not sought out in the first place. Nobody
Yeah.
seeks their opinion. So um, in our case, we thought that was not the right approach. So we should actually get the people involved, get them, to sit down and tell us what it is that we need as a matter of priority. So once those priorities are being listed, and then we come in as ministry, because once the document has been included, we go there and tell them that this is what you said you would do. Look at it. This is the document you're bringing back to you. So that, I mean, our picture has basically been for rising ownership, the medium-term national development plan, and also to enhance what we do also as part of our engagement is to ensure that we enhance grassroots understanding of the plan and to put them in the center of implementation. So once the implementation is going on, you will now get them to, they will be like M&E officers, monitor and evaluate, so that at the end of the day, you will be able to say, this is what we wanted. I mean, what are you doing? What you're doing right now is not what we requested for. So they'll be able to and be a part and parcel of some of these development that have been rolled out in their communities. Basically, what we do as a mission is that in addition to also support them, because again, when it comes to mobile network penetration, internet access, our ministry is leading on that, like I mentioned. So sometimes they will tell you that our first needs, includes internet mobile penetration. We want to have more coverage. The coverage here is not as strong. We desire, so all of these things. So once if we have a situation like that, then we can bring them up to speed. We always bring them up to speed on what we are doing, the plans to get them hooked up to internet, or probably have the network, mobile network expanded in their part of the region. So these are some of the engagements that we have been involved in as far as it relates to the medium-term national development. And also, when you have all these community meetings, the team from the Ministry of Development that is leading the development of that led on the development of the plan, the plan is already ready, it's available. We go in, different ministries go in, and they talk to the people about what is it that they're doing as it relates to the implementation of the plan. So we have always been part of the engagements. Of course, Ministry of Information, information is power. So we are always in the center, putting out about to take opportunity as well to put out government information to these people, in addition to what exactly requires matter of priority for their community. Yes.
Very good. I'm really happy to hear about the social contract structure you have, discussing with the communities and taking it back to the government and taking information from the government to the communities to make sure that interests are aligned and what the government is investing in is what the people are actually interested in. So
yes, gone are the days where you have to solve what you want to do for people. People really know. I mean, times have changed. Things are
yes.
not the way. So we cannot afford to go to communities, to go to the people and tell them that, hey, this is what we think you need. Some places, some communities, they will tell you that what we need is health facility, or what we need is, road. And if you go now in a place they need road or health facilities and you give them something else, they might not appreciate it because that's not what they want. That is the main reason why we got them involved in the entire process.
This is very interesting. A lot of times when there's some international report on this sort of engagement between government and communities, people don't talk about the African example. I'm really happy to hear about this Sierra Leone example. This is a very strong example of that strong engagement between government and states. So very good. You talked about the meetings that are being held. Let's talk about, I mean, of course, that sometimes the interests of women groups and other groups are different. How does the ministry manage this to make sure that you hear from women groups, you hear from marginalized groups, you hear from farmers organizations? How does that happen?
Well, so like you're right, in the sense that yes, what is important to a woman might not be the same thing that is important to a man, or disabled groups or religious groups or what have you. So we make sure that there is a whole lot of engagements, stakeholder engagement, engagements, so that you get to know at different times what is it. Because if you bring them all together in one hall, there might be some agreements or disagreements, or so once you have that split, have different groups talk about different things, then you come back and now sit and look at what is it that was very common amongst all of the things that came out from the various groups. Then you'll be able to say, so for example, roads. In all of the discussions we had with various groups, road is very, central. So we can now look at what is common and then decide, road is really common, healthcare is common, and what of you. So yes, we have all these stakeholder meetings, yet each and every one of them involved. Every single community stakeholder is taken along the process. We don't want to talk, we don't want women to talk for traditional rulers. We don't want mayor to talk for youth. We don't want leaders to talk for the disabled. So that is why you engage opinions on every single thing that you think is needed. So these are the kind of engagements that are, held to be able to come up with the document that we already have.
That is a very, international best practice strategy to have different meetings for different groups, different times, rather than bring everybody together. Because when you do bring everybody together, some voices will not be heard. So,
absolutely.
Great. Yes. All right, tell us, Madam, you're the Deputy Minister, and as you know, this is a position mostly reserved, for males in the society. So where you are is a male-dominated.
That's so.
Yes, yes. I think many of the ladies listening would like to hear from you some of the key factors that have helped you to, achieve this height, and also what advice you have for African women looking at, smashing through the glass ceilings.
So first of all, I would like to attribute where I am, honestly, to the will of God for my life, because God has a plan and purpose for our life. Our plans, our paths have been charted by God, and I believe that at some point, this is where God wants me. God has set His own grand plan for my life that you want to pass through, a space that is the Deputy Minister of Information. So that's number one. Number two, um, these positions are not positions that you apply for. It's not like the usual, you see a job advert and you say, I beg to apply and like that. This is the position that you're appointed to. So I guess over the period, working in the media, working in communications and media issues over the period, I'm sure somebody somewhere must have been, watching me, keeping tabs on with the effort, the energy that I put into it. Because honestly, one thing I'll say, I really am passionate about the things that I do. As long as my name is associated with a given task, I make sure I execute it better. So hard work, perseverance, dedication to service. These are all things that you might not be alive, but somehow, somewhere, somebody is there watching impact on your growth and what you do. So I want to believe, as a result of all the energy and time and the passion in the way I've persevered over the period. So that is what somebody somewhere saw and say, you know what, we need somebody for the position of deputy minister, and we think this person would be the best candidate for that position. So that is where I am right now. In terms of also another thing about me that I also want to use as advice, I want to give out advice to women. Of course, men will never give us the space that we are looking for. Because, most times you have some men who really push empowered women, but most men are really intimidated by powerful women. So now we see things are changing, times are changing, women are taking over. We have women presidents, women prime ministers, women breaking the glass ceiling. That Madam Ngozi just recently, she is leading the WTO. So women are really going places. So we do not have to feel intimidated by any man, because I believe, this is my personal belief, that women can, even when you give responsibility to a woman, you can be rest assured that that responsibility will be done and will be done properly. I'm not saying a man cannot do it, but the days of saying, oh, this task is too hard for a woman, those days are far gone. For me, women should take over, take their positions. Don't allow a man to tell you that go and sit at the back. Because that is where you should be, a woman to be after a man. No way. That is it should be. Be confident in yourself, aspire to be somebody, don't compare yourself to anybody. Because for me, that's one thing about my philosophy. I compare myself to anybody. I aspire to be somebody, but comparing to be somebody might limit you, might limit your potential. So I would say aspire to be somebody, be the best version of yourself, given the task to do, just run with it. And trust me, at the end of the day, you will just find yourself in the center, in men. So we have to do what we do as women and do it to the best of our abilities.
Yeah.
That's what
So
I
key
was.
things, I agree. Hard work pays. Be persistent, be consistent. Just keep on working hard because people are watching, and at the end of the day, they are seeing what you're doing, and when they need somebody in that leadership position, they will remember your track record.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that is something I absolutely believe in. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so now let's go to the final question. Can you tell us a little bit about your vision for Sierra Leone, especially concerning energy and economic development?
Okay, my vision for Sierra Leone, my vision really cannot be far away from the vision of the president. I like to say that because, again, if you were talking to me as a person, I would have said this is my vision. But now you're talking to me in my capacity as deputy minister. So I have to speak in line with what I'm here doing as far as it relates with His Excellency the President's vision. So my vision for Sierra Leone as far as energy access is concerned is in line with the vision of the President. So energy, we all know the importance of energy, where you have, constant power supply, uninterrupted power supply. I mean, the gains, the benefits are huge. I mean, there's a long list of goodies that comes along with having steady energy supply, people accessing power. So President knows that before we got to this point, before we got appointed as a government, elected, sorry, as a government, there are challenges. Definitely, there are challenges. And we came on a platform of new direction, do things differently, to do things, in a fashion that has not been done before. So we are not quite there when it comes to the issue of energy access. But trust me, we are moving at a pace that we are not complacent that we have moved. We still want to see where people come here, industries are created out here, we have job opportunities for our young people, we have access to energy, all over the country, not just one side, one area getting more than the other. We want to have everywhere energy scarcely, energy distributed in a manner that everybody will be happy at the end of the day. So back to the point, we are not where we are yet, but one of the things that has been a challenge, because we have various energy sources across the country. But one of the things that have been a challenge is we have um, distribution networks, that has not been fully functioning. So these are areas we have been able to pay attention to funding coming in from donor partners, and of course with government counterpart funding, we've been able to grid power line, distribution network, so that power that is generated from the various sources be able to be transmitted to home factories. And of course, once we have industries boom, we have, you know, things working out in that sector, there'll be rippling effects. Those things will lead to economic growth. There will be a lot of things that will happen that will positively impact, our economy. So we are working. We are not there as like I mentioned. We have not been able to reach the sub-Saharan average of 30%, but we are close to that. And we keep doing things. And again, Sierra Leone has been elected, was elected to the MCC Compact. And if we get that grant, so that I'm just working with in so many areas. But yes,
Yes.
energy is very key. Energy is very key. Energy is very central. If we're talking about healthcare delivery services, of course, the role that energy will play in that. If we're talking about quality education, you know what energy will play in that. If we're talking about agriculture, all of these things that you have farmers who are all over the place doing marvelous things because they have
True.
access to the internet. So these are all things that we know that energy is the enabler. You
Yes.
know, one big uh, enabler that will support a lot of systems. Once those systems pick up, once those things work out the way they should, of course, it will naturally translate into our economy, and then we'll have a boom in the economic growth of our.
I truly believe Sierra Leone is on track to becoming a middle income country, maybe even before 2035, especially with the strategy, to educate the community and also to have that, two-way communication with the state, with the community and the state. That is very impressive. I'm
Yeah.
really happy to hear of all the work being done to get, energy to homes and industries. That is impressive. So my congratulations to you, Madam, and to the President for this very brilliant initiatives that are being implemented simultaneously. Thanks for
Thank you.
sharing all this with us. And
Thank you very much. Thank
I
you
think
very
the
much.
world needs to hear about how development in Sierra Leone is inclusive and participatory. It's a
Yes.
great example.
Development is inclusive, it is participatory, and because we believe that that is what we change, they need a change, the people, that voted us in office. So we're on
Yes.
it. A lot of things going on right now with the free quality education. We have over 2.5 million kids in school now. They go to school, basic and senior secondary education. We have school buildings constructed. We have new teachers now in the system because again, you can have this quality education is a flagship program as a government, which is why the government has dedicated, a lot of money as part of our GDP into that sector. So we want to have more classrooms built. Kids go to school now. They have free school feeding program. They have school buses just to support. Just a long list of support to that particular sector because we believe that education is the game changer.
All right then. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you
Thank you
for all
very
this.
much. Thank you very much, Monica. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Same here. Have a great day, man.
You too. Take care.